Broadcasting across the globe, Ben Norris, Rob McKnight and David Robinson.
Ben, Rob and Robbo. News and views, entertainment too. It's the Ben, Rob and Robbo. Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.
Welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. Here's Rob McKnight.
Hello and welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. Straight off the top, I forget to turn those buttons on. Ben and Robbo, I just don't know how to push your buttons. Hello. How are we today?
Hey.
What I loved is your cool kind of telly transition, the turn on the chair. I really liked that. I want to see that
I
again.
know, that's why I didn't turn on the buttons. I can't do two things at once. I wanted to do hello and welcome to the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.
Yeah. No, it's still good. It's still good.
Was it, Robbo? Was it? No.
I just want to rewind it just to see if you're wearing pants. That's all I want to know. Are you wearing pants? Can you stand up and show us if you're wearing pants?
We had this conversation yesterday. I don't think I should reveal whether I'm wearing pants or not, but just to be honest, yes, get a load of
crotch shot.
Oh,
okay.
too much
Oh,
skin. Sorry.
Oh,
Well,
I'll look at
I
your
did
too much
too much
there.
skin there, and it wasn't pretty. Oh boy! Hey. We've got a lot coming up today. We've got Sam Dastiari talking politics, and Peter Hellier joins us to talk about season 2 of his fabulous series, How to Stay Married. And I'm also going to ask him about the impact the coronavirus is having on the stand-up comedy industry. He's got a lot of friends who I imagine are out of work at the moment because we've had comedy festivals cancelled. So just what's going on with them, we'll find that out a little later. Meanwhile, let's get to our hot topics. And a question with just 5 words on Q&A last night made many people sit up and eagerly wait for the answer, but it never really came. A teacher asked Federal Education Minister Dan Tehan, why are teachers so expendable? Have a look.
Why is Mr Morrison putting teachers, one of the country's most important resources, in harm's way? Why are we so expendable?
Can I say to you, Carla, the federal government and all state and territory governments have been very conscious about the health and welfare of teachers and principals and teachers' aides right across this nation. Both my sisters are teachers, so this is something that we have paid attention to and given great consideration to. But what we've done consistently right throughout this pandemic is taken the advice of the medical expert panel. Now, that medical expert panel is made up of the chief medical officers from all state and territories and the Commonwealth Chief Medical Officer.
I'm not racist. I have black friends. Host Hamish McDonald.
that's exactly what I thought. Yes. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Outrageous.
Host Hamish McDonald continued to press the Minister for answers as to why there is such confusion around teachers and schools. Robbo, I'll open it up to you. Why do you think there's one rule for some and another for teachers?
But because that's what we're being told. For example, Parliament can't sit. They are going to sit now in mid-May, but they weren't going to do that until August because of coronavirus fears. If you look at the House of Representatives and the Senate, it would be very easy to do social distancing there, something that you really can't do in a classroom of 30 kids. So there's this disparity between the information that we're being told. Last night, that was a terrible performance by the Minister of Education there. And like you mentioned, I thought the same thing. Hey, I've got black friends. Hey, I've got gay friends, so I'm okay. I got two sisters who are teachers, but then didn't really elaborate on that. It was just a really kind of cheap, throwing in there of, I'm with you as well. But this is the thing. We've got premiers telling us one thing. We've got education ministers in the states telling us another thing, and then we've got this guy saying, we're following the medical, advice, which doesn't apply to everyone else. So I'm assuming then that what we don't know is that the teachers in their DNA have some kind of immunity to COVID-19.
No. Sorry, I'm going to have to pull you up here. The medical advice to the Prime Minister has not changed since day one, in that schools are a minimal risk. What we have seen, and the reason there is so much confusion about this, is the states have gone and done their own things for political reasons, whether that be not wanting a backlash from parents, whether that be not wanting to face the consequences if something did happen and a child caught this disease at school, or whether they're being pushed by the unions and the teachers themselves. I understand social distancing. We've all been doing it. But the medical advice from day one has been schools are okay. This confusing
But
message...
how is that different from you can't be, like in Bunnings, you can't have 4 people in an aisle? How is
I'm
it
not a
different to
doctor.
you can't have cinemas? But how is it? I think that's the confusion from the teachers. Why is there that disparity between, you can only have 6 people in a Bunnings aisle, but you can have 30 kids and a teacher in a classroom? That's what I find confusing.
I think that the information...
That's what teachers find confusing.
I think what's actually happening here is that, education for children is extremely important, and I don't necessarily think they are wanting to put teachers at risk. But the thing is, when we're stopping industries and reducing the curve, I think it came to education being something that they chose to be a bit of a danger zone. Now, I understand people are like, well, why has the Liberal Party decided to do this? But I mean, it's not uncommon for the Liberal Party to not put education first.
This isn't a party issue, because we're seeing Liberal premiers, like in New South Wales, going against the government advice. But while we're talking kids, let me just bring up this. This is coming off the back of some worrying news out of the UK overnight. There are concerns that is potentially a new COVID-related illness that affects children. So far, it appears that generally kids are being spared from infection, which could be why the medical advice has been what it has been for schools. But scientists still know very little about the virus. Ben, with this news being released, does it come back that we should stop this obsession with opening schools? Is it possible that the risk isn't what we thought? And look, I will say, I sent my kids to school when Queensland schools were still open. We sent our kids to school because that was the advice from the Prime Minister, and that was our state advice. So I'm very much torn on what to do here. If they open up the schools, I think I would send my kids to school because they're telling us we're okay.
Well, I think that that's what we should be doing at the moment, and is having a little bit of faith in our government. If they're saying that it's okay to be sending your kids to school, and that's what they've decided to do with reducing the restrictions, and they think that that's the right step forward, I think we should be following that. If people are really upset about this and they do not want to send their kids to school, well, I'm sure that they can still homeschool their kids. It's just not an easy situation for anyone, and I can't imagine how it would... I can't speak for being a parent. I'm not a parent, but I guess I can only imagine an alternate universe and say that if I had children, I'd be sending them to school.
Yeah, look, it's a very difficult thing, and I would love to know what the parents watching this show think. Are you willing to send your kids to school? Having said that, I feel like most people watching this are ready to send their kids back to school. We know we are. So please, reopen the schools. But let's move on. Texas is the latest American state to start to reopen some businesses, including movie theatres, this Friday. Governor Greg Abbott believes it's the right time to start flipping the signs to open, but the big cinema chains are not expected to do so until at least June. Even President Donald Trump has said it is too early for the state, but Governor Abbott replied with, "We're Texans, we got this." That worst Texan accent. I'm despite the fact I cannot do accents, that will not stop me. I know it probably sounded Irish, but Robbo, does Texas got this?
I don't think they do. It's this kind of pandering, to populist government where you do what you think the mass wants you to do as opposed to doing what you should do for the whole entire electorate. And that's the problem. The wonderful thing here is, though, that it has a flow-on effect. So the cinema chains, the big cinema chains, for example, one is AMC, which is equivalent to our event cinemas here in Australia. They're not going to open probably until mid-July. That has a flow-on effect, as I mentioned, because the major studios aren't going to release films. They also can only operate at 25% capacity, which means that they can't even recoup costs for when they do open. This kind of arrogance is why we're seeing massive amounts of infections and massive deaths, the most of any country in the world from corona, because of this arrogance of, we can do it, we won't. That's my Texas accent.
Ben, what about you? Would you be willing to go to the cinema if they decided to open them?
I love cinema, so I think I'd find it really difficult to resist going and seeing films when they come out. I think Joe Casamento will agree with me on that when she joins us tomorrow. But I think my health is very important, and I would be very dubious. I think I'd need to actually see what's actually happening in the landscape across Australia and what's happening with the statistics at the time, and maybe whether or not the movie's worth risking. I mean, if the new Top Gun 2 came out early, maybe I would risk coronavirus.
But we've seen from Australia, from America, where they have had pretty lax testing, pretty lax rules regarding coronavirus and what they're doing about it. And that's why we've seen their death rates and their infection rates soar. We haven't seen that here. So to open cinemas now would just be outrageous. We're just flattening the curve. That's a brilliant effort by everyone, including the government. I have to give them that. But this is the problem with America. They're getting out of it earlier when they're in the midst, in the grip of one of the worst infection and death rates, or the worst actually, across the world. So I think it's poor form to open anything, and it's just populist government that shouldn't happen.
Bloody Americans.
Let's move on. An Australian online counselling service is advising people who suffer from addiction to stock up when they can during COVID-19. Counsellingonline.org.au advised users to contact their dealer, make sure they have enough stock, and to not binge any substances they already have. Robbo, is this responsible?
Absolutely it is. It's the best fight we have against people who unfortunately suffer from addiction is harm minimization, and that's what this is. You know what the reality is that many people around Australia and indeed around the world suffer from addiction, and that's we just have to accept that. This idea of that it's not a lot of people is just rubbish. So this, I think, is very responsible, it's very mature, and it's very helpful to those people who do suffer from addictions, because what we're going to see here is that if there is, and there probably is, a disruption in supply, there'll be people going through involuntary withdrawals, which is not good for anyone. Let me put this to you. It costs the taxpayer more to help someone after the fact than if we just kind of had this mature kind of, thought process. It costs more not to help them than to help them. And that's a really big thing that I think we need to remember. Harm minimization is the way forward. It's also where we kind of veer into pill testing. There's always going to be people who take drugs. There are always going to be people who have problems. And this, I think, is such a mature way of dealing with it, and such great advice from a counselling service. People have been saying that the problem is that they're government funded. That's such a clickbait bullshit headline, really. Everyone deserves the right for treatment. Everyone deserves compassion, and people with addiction are suffering from a disease. There's no doubt about that. So yes, I think that's great.
I hear all that, and the thing is, I think pill testing is a waste of time. So not pill testing a waste of time, the disposable bins for pills. I think pill testing is actually a very smart thing to do at these concerts. So let me be very, very clear on that. I'd actually be interested to know in how many pills have been thrown out at these concerts before we went into lockdown at these bins, and I'm going to guess not many, because we would have heard from the government trumpeting their latest initiative. But Robbo, I guess I'm a little bit torn, because I am all for trying to deal with the situation, and I'm actually a believer that we should legalise marijuana and have pill testing at festivals. I don't know that the advice should be stock up on your drugs. Maybe the advice should be the supplies are about to dwindle. We're going to help you overcome this disease. We're going to offer you treatments. Now is the time. Because if you don't deal with this... Would you say that
to someone...
Yeah, my point being that sell it as a fact that if you don't try and deal with this now, you are going to go through massive withdrawals, because you are going to lose that supply. It's going to disappear. They cannot get shipments in, no matter if you've got the best guy on earth. So work with us, and we will try to help you with this addiction. And I understand it's an addiction, and I don't fully understand it. but I understand it's an addiction. But I think there is a better way than telling people to stockpile.
Is it not, though, just being common sense? The fact is that the same as prostitution, let's use that as an example. It's the oldest profession in the world. We know that. You can never stamp it out, so you might as well regulate it and help people. The same thing with this. You are never going to stamp it out. Unless someone wants to get help, they won't get help. So what you've got to do there is have this mature way of looking at it and going, look, these people aren't ready for help. There is a lot of help here. They're an online counselling service. So at the same time when they click that message, they're also clicking a million messages on that website saying, well, we can help you. But I just think it's so mature and such a good thing to go, well, you know what? People are always going to be addicted. People are always going to have substance abuse issues. And let's just be open and forthright about this. It's the same way as if there was insulin issues with diabetics. We wouldn't be having this big talk about it at all. We'd say, yeah, stockpile your insulin because you're a diabetic. Diabetic and addiction, they're the same kind of things. They all result in diabetes type 2, I should clarify. They all start off with some bad decisions in the beginning, but they deserve our support, they deserve our help, and they deserve our compassion.
Ben, I'm just going to give you the last word because we have taken over this topic. What's your quick hot take before we move on?
Look, I think not experiencing addiction, I don't necessarily know what it is like to try and overcome that. So I think, it's very interesting to listen to the two of you discuss it so passionately. And I think that both opinions are quite valid. I think at the end of the day, for me, I just like to make sure that there's enough information out there and that people are discussing it publicly in the media so that there's resourceful information out there for people who are addicts and for people who need to understand addicts. Absolutely.
All right, on last night's episode of Media Watch, host Paul Barry presented a segment about Karl Stefanovic and his latest PR blitz. Mr. Barry pointed out that over the years, Karl has waged war on the Daily Mail only to grant them a special 3-part interview. But I have to admit that Barry's commentary felt like a personal attack on Karl, and I didn't like it. Take a look.
And it's a win-win for both parties. But Stefanovic's decision to get into bed with his regular tormentor did not go unnoticed by news.com.au, which called it a truly baffling PR move. Not sure about that. If it gets the paps off his back and earns Karl some half-decent media coverage for a change, it's a brilliant move. And while he may risk losing credibility by performing such a huge about-face, well, some would say he didn't have all that much anyway.
I didn't like this so much. I had a brief chat with Paul Barry on Twitter, where I questioned whether the final line about Karl's credibility was needed. Paul replied with, how can Karl be taken seriously when he slams the Daily Mail for years and then gives them the most important interview of his life? I wonder whether I'm overthinking this. Paul and I eventually decided to agree to disagree. But I don't know, Rob. Ben, to me, this just felt like, why did he need to go down? He'd made his point about everything else. It just felt like you're attacking a man's credibility, and it was just so bitchy. I didn't like it at all.
Look, I think yesterday, you and I, before that story went to air last night, we were discussing, what was the reason for Karl Stefanovic to come out and talk publicly about his mental health issues. And I said to you, look, I thought maybe it was organised by Channel 9 for him to, talk about something that shows that he's a real Australian and he's worried for fellow Australians. And so I thought it was a bit of a PR piece. This goes to show you how much I don't necessarily understand the industry, because you had said to me, look, I don't think that Channel 9 would be setting up an interview with that particular publication. So your common sense yourself had also questioned that, and rightfully so.
Well, here's the thing. I've done a little bit of digging, and I have since found out that Karl did that with a journalistic friend of his, someone he has worked very closely with, someone he respects. So it wasn't specifically for the Daily Mail. Having said that, lest we forget that Karl had some issues. He actually talked about suing News Corp that then went and did an interview with news.com.au. News.com.au and the Daily Mail are two of the biggest news websites in this country. Now, the Today Show is having some ratings issues. It is number 3. We're going to go into week 6 where it is number 3 behind ABC News Breakfast. Karl has to do PR. He has to try and do the charm offensive. I don't understand the issue with him doing interviews, no matter what he said. They both need each other. But all that aside, Barry made his points, and I don't think there was any issue with anything he said about that. But why did he have to attack a man's credibility? We're talking about Karl Stefanovic, who was reported from floods, from war zones. He's gone to more dangerous places than possibly anyone I know. And look, I like Karl on a personal and professional level. I will be upfront and honest about that. But I just felt, don't be like that he had no credibility to begin with. People watch Karl Stefanovic because he is credible. Yes, he does crazy and zany things, but that's the nature of breakfast television, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That does not mean he cannot be a credible performer or personality or reporter or journalist when he's out there in the field, and he has credibility. And when I want news when something is breaking, personally, I will turn to Karl Stefanovic because I think he delivers the goods. Robbo, is there anything you want to say?
2 words for you. Show business. It's showbiz. So
So true,
that's
Robbo.
all it is. He's in showbiz. Daily Mail's in showbiz. Media Watch is in showbiz. I get the for and against for it, but yeah, Karl would obviously go to, as you mentioned, one of the biggest sites. There would be no reason for him to go to a smaller site. I totally get it. Showbiz is about give and take, and let me tell you, it's all a load of absolute wonderful, wonderful industry, and that's just the case. It's showbiz. That's what this is.
And of course, Karl, if you want to do an interview on the Ben, Rob and Robbo show, we will think about it. It's not necessarily a yes, mate. We have standards.
Is that the phone ringing? Is that the phone ringing, Rob? I don't know. You've just put some breadcrumbs down for that one.
Hey, the cult classic TV show, The X-Files, first premiered back in 1993. And after 27 years, it appears that the truth is out there. The US Defense Department has declassified 3 videos showing UFOs. The Star-Spangled Banner has admitted that the flying phenomena is uncategorized, but didn't comment further. You can see the 3 videos here. We've looped them so you can have a double check. One was recorded in 2004, the other in 2015. Robbo, are you a believer?
I love this kind of stuff, and I loved the X-Files. I really did. Look, I think the universe is so big that it would be crazy that we're the only ones here. However, for these kind of things, I've always got to kind of fall back on the fact that it's probably just another country's defense testing or probes or drones or
Isn't the government
whatnot.
pretty good at working that out, though?
Yeah, but they're pretty good at also not telling us. So they're pretty good at telling us what we want to hear.
They're unclassified. We don't know what they are. They're uncategorized.
Yeah. Yeah. So look at this over here. Look at the man juggling, because over here there's actually a UFO that's causing issues, or there's something over here that we're not going to release to you. Look, it'd be an awful waste of space if I can quote. No, if I can quote the.
What would it do, Ben, if the US government came, Trump said, I'm down on the polls, so, there are UFOs. I'm telling everybody, I'm opening Area 52. There's UFOs. And what would the reaction be? Would it be panic or one of, oh, yeah?
I went to look at Robbo's face because I felt like he was telling me what to say. But my own opinion is this, and I am going to be hated by scientists everywhere when I say, if there was UFOs, if there was aliens and they'd come here, I've seen Independence Day. They blow up like, famous buildings first. They go for the goods. They don't come down here, drop a few little breadcrumbs for government officials to wonder about and cover up. Like, honestly, if they were to come to Australia, not Australia, if they came to the world, I think that their impact would be monumental and it wouldn't be able to be covered up. Why is it that every single time a UFO has come here, Dana Scully and Fox Mulder have gone along and swept it up so we don't find out about it, and the government covers it up for years? It's just not a reality. It's just not what would happen. They would arrive in Flinders Street Station or at the... I'm still rambling, aren't I? You want to run me out? Okay, fair enough.
Yes, Robbo?
I just wanted to ask Rob, whether you believed. Are you a believer?
I'm unsure. I'm unsure. We did a story on Studio 10. You did this story with Ida Buttrose about... I did. Where was that place, Robbo, in Victoria where the UFO... It was Westrel or something.
It was a place in Victoria. That's exactly right, yes. Yep.
And there was this whole thing where a whole school of people saw this UFO, and their story is pretty compelling. And it was a good story you guys did. But I will say one thing, that I sort of do believe in aliens and UFOs, because the next person we're about to meet, the man we're going to for the news headlines of the day, his beauty could only have been devised by aliens. Aaron Young in the Ticker newsroom. Are you a product of alien technology?
He's been beamed in.
Oh, hang on. I haven't turned his mic on. Are you there, Aaron?
And he's still not
very
there.
much here, guys.
Hey,
there we go.
Now, maybe the aliens have stopped the
you
technology
can hear me
there.
now. Excellent. Yes, they've heard us, and they. The view on it is that I want to be a believer. I'm not sure if they actually have tried to come to Earth, but I don't know. It's like if they ever were to invent time travel, sure we'd be bumping into people now who've come back to take a look at what it's like during coronavirus, right? So how would you know? I don't know. We shall see. Well, let's
Aaron, can I quickly ask you though? Sorry, Aaron.
Yes, you can. Let's go back and drop the news headlines for just a moment. In fact, I've never seen the news headlines cancelled anywhere in the world, but we will.
Only Robbo could cancel the news. Robbo, there's flow, mate.
Aaron,
People are hitting
It's got to
buttons.
be good. This has got to be good.
It was looking
I
good
know,
until
and it's-
Robbo interferes.
It's
We've
not
still
even
got
worth
a jingle.
the gag, but yeah, I'm just going to ask you now because we've stopped it, and I feel really bad, and I know that Daddy Rob will yell at me. Are you a believer?
Oh, there will be a
though?
conversation.
Am I a believer? Yeah, absolutely, totally. I don't know about
No, believer. Justin
I've
Believer.
always felt
Justin Believer. Believer.
Of course he likes Justin Bieber.
believer.
Robbo,
Yes.
is that really what
Believer.
we stopped the news
Fine.
for? Aaron,
Sorry.
take it away,
I'm not
Aaron.
a
Sorry,
believer.
Aaron.
I'm a believer, though. Okay, let's have a look at the news headlines. Unhinged. New South Wales will relax its social restrictions from this Friday, allowing 2 adults at a time to visit each other across different households. Around the world, COVID-19's now infected more than 3 million people, and the World Health Organization says it's concerned about the growing number of people infected in Africa and also South America. With several Australian states loosening those restrictions, some in the business sector calling for a more uniform approach, border controls and business rules are the biggest source of concern for organisations like the Australian Industry Group. Victoria remains the odd one out, the Premier refusing to follow New South Wales' lead in relaxing the rules. And just days after suggesting the public could be injected with disinfectant to cure coronavirus, President Trump is now trying to put COVID-19 behind him and the nation, pivoting his focus to plans to reopen the country. Some states have started to ease closure orders, and Trump is expected to spend the coming days highlighting administration's efforts to help businesses and also employees. And Apple could be delaying production ramp-up of its flagship iPhone coming later on this year by about a month. The Wall Street Journal says the delay is due to weakened global consumer demand and disrupted manufacturing across Asia. Our Ticker Twitter poll today, we're asking, should the Aussie favourite, the buffet, be scrapped because of coronavirus? 54% right now say yes, it should go. 46% no, it should not. And by the way, bring back Sizzler. Let's have a look at the world weather map today for the world we care about, Australia. Melbourne, 20 degrees. Sydney, overcast, same as Brisbane. Perth, 21 degrees. And also Adelaide, 23 degrees. Have a look at the market now. The ASX edging up over the past couple of hours. Westpac has unveiled a $2.2 billion H1 impairment. As you see, though, the market coming back down to earth there. Also hearing demand growth at Officeworks and Bunnings, but hearing from Target, they're now announcing they'll be closing some stores in the future as well. In the United States, the markets finished higher overnight, oil crashing once again. This is Ticker. You are up to date now, gentlemen. As we know, some things can go wrong in the world of television, certainly when you're starting a TV network, as we have been trying to do here at Ticker over the past 8 months. And that means my kind of daily routine is I get into the office quite early, have to find some things for us to be able to talk about, some news things, quite often in some sort of a rush. So you go to, respectful news organisations. So I went to the White House Twitter feed to find a grab of Donald Trump talking about impeachment. Unfortunately, White was spelt incorrectly and I didn't pick it up. So I downloaded a grab that we then put to air, and I did it deadpan. So we're going to run the breaker sting to show you exactly how it unfolds.
From the studios of Ticker, this is breaking news.
And Donald Trump has just referred to impeachment. He's just
Read the transcript. Now, they want to have a transcript of the other call, the second call, and I'm willing to provide that. We'll probably give it to you on Tuesday.
Oh, my God. Well done.
Now, the best part is that when your director is counting down for you to come back on air, right, you're staring down the barrel of the camera trying to get the words on the...
From the studios of TikTok.
Nope, and then that happens. But the point is that as it, of course...
It's not just us, that's
happening,
great.
No. As it was happening, of course, I'm staring down the barrel and the director bursts into tears of laughter. And I had absolutely no idea what the problem was. And the best thing is, he says to me, Aaron, I think there was a problem with that clip. I'm thinking, what do you mean? So I go back and watch it and I'm like, did you think that was real? Was there any part of you that thought that was real anyway? So that was our moment of fake news involving the man who invented the term.
Sensational.
Well, there you go. Live television or live streamer vision. Aaron, thank you very much. We will get some more news from you tomorrow. In the meantime, you can always go to tickertv.com.au for the very latest headlines. And Robbo's in the dark there. That's... Wonder what he's getting up to there. It's time to talk politics. It's time to talk politics with former federal senator Sam Dastyari, who joins us now. Hi, Sam. Thank you for joining us.
Mate, great to be back.
And you came back after week one, so that's always a good sign. Mate, I want to talk to you about a few things today. But first of all, have you downloaded the app, the coronavirus government app?
Nah, and I won't.
Now, tell me why.
Look, honestly, I know the government probably well enough, and I know the federal government well enough to say that would I trust them with my data? No. Do I think they would intentionally go out and use it and do other things they've said they wouldn't? No. But mate, they couldn't. Do you remember the census? They couldn't get a census right? The idea, the view that they're going to be able to roll this out and there isn't a serious risk of the data getting stolen or getting misused by others, I just don't trust them enough. And I don't trust their ability to do these things.
Very interesting. And I've had some concerns about the privacy, which they were convincing me over. I was getting past that. But I take the point that when they've got the data, they probably are the ones least likely to be able to hold on to it and look after it.
Well, look, while I was in Parliament, Parliament House was hacked. We only found out about this years later. Right? Everyone, including the Prime Minister's emails, were being accessed. To this day, either they still don't know who did it, and they were kind of throwing up names. They were saying it was either Iran or China or North Korea. They weren't quite sure who it was.
Wow.
Either they still don't know, and they only found this out years later, or they do know and they're just not going to tell because they don't want to create some kind of, an international diplomatic incident. I don't know the answer to that. But look, I just don't trust their ability to do these kind of programs. I think this whole thing, the idea that the government's going to be able to be producing apps and it's going to be safe and secure, I just don't buy it. I think this is just, we have to be very, very careful in these kinds of environments that you don't allow for ridiculous government overreach. And you saw this happen in America with the Patriot Act. What seemed like a sensible response at the time to, September 11 was this, giant piece of legislation. And we have to be very careful. These things do eat away at some of your freedoms.
I do have to ask you, Sam, we give more of our personal information across to Facebook and Google and Instagram and TikTok all the time. How is this any different?
Okay, a couple of things. Firstly, we do. And the truth is we gave away this incredibly valuable thing called our data as a kind of society for convenience, not realizing how important and valuable it is. Right? You're right. Right? And that kind of crept up on us, I think, as a society. No one, if we knew, you'd price it better. If you knew how important your data was going to be for advertising, at the start, it wasn't a valuable product and we did give it up. I think, firstly, that's a whole other issue. And I think there's huge security concerns. And I think people should have a right to their data they don't really have under Australian law. That's a separate issue. That being said, look, frankly, a lot of those kind of larger organisations have actually proven, look, they're better at kind of holding data than the government is. Now, what do they use it for? They use it for advertising. What do they use it for? They use it for targeting. Is that good? No. Have we given away too much of our own data? Yes. But does that mean that I trust the government with this? No, I shouldn't trust them. Unfortunately, I think we trust them too much to begin with.
Sam, can I ask you a question? Like, beyond this, I think, I can't believe that you'd be on here with however many viewers we have saying all of this jargon. All I can hear is, just download the app. Like, it's paranoia coming from you, saying that you are worried that people are going to jump in here and steal your information. All I hear is privileged white male bullshit about the fact that they just won't download the app. These people do not want to borrow information or use it against you. Yes, they probably might make a mistake with some of it, whatever. But at the end of the day, we're in a country that is battling against an illness, and we're doing very well at it. And I would say to you, why can't you just follow what the leaders of this country have asked you to do, as opposed to giving every other silly answer out there about why not to do it?
No. Well, you're going to let me talk, or you're going to keep talking over me. Frankly, no. I know the government well enough. I know how they operate. I know how they think. Do I believe they're going to intentionally misuse this data? I honestly don't. I don't think they're going to intentionally do anything. But just as we saw with the census, right? They are not the right people. They are not the best people at actually being able to hold this kind of data. And when we've seen this, look.
When was the census done? When was that done?
No, hang on. You got to talk. I'm going to talk now. You talk about
Fair
coming
enough.
from
But when was the census done?
My parents fled a regime in a place like Iran, and we came to Australia when I was 5 years old. My mother sat on an execution list in Iran, so I'm going to cop this, crap from you about privilege. There's no privilege here. Right? What I am going to say, though, is that I have a rightful distrust of government, and we've seen these kinds of encroachments. Are these things poorly intentioned? No. They come with the best of intentions. Have a look at what happened with the Patriot Act in the US after September 11.
But I just like to say that, you're using some statistics and some facts about things like the census that happened, many moons ago. Technology is always going to be evolving. We're always going to be...
3 years ago.
A lot changes in 3 years, and especially when it comes to technology, I think technology almost becomes better every single day. So, using the census as an out-of-date argument, I just would like to say to anyone else that's out there that's listening to this story right now, it is imperative that you download this app. It's not important to listen to people who are telling you all conspiracy theories as to why not to download it. It's important. It's Australian. And I still am racking my brains for a good argument. And I'm unsure as to what Sam's going to come back to me with.
I'll give you my argument. My argument is, right, and simply, look, if people feel comfortable and they want to download, go ahead, download. I'm not telling, the question wasn't, should other people download it or not? The question was, have I downloaded it and would I download it? My personal choice in this, and my issue with this, is I have just seen government fail and fail before when they've tried to do this kind of thing.
Interestingly, this is a fascinating debate, and Sam is a great ventriloquist because his video is behind the audio. It is the most bizarre thing to watch while you guys are having a really, really interesting conversation. And I am actually... the dynamic between Sam and Ben is quite interesting, but we are running out of time. Sam, I have plenty to ask you about this COVID. His video is still going. It's so far behind. But I have so much to ask you about what's going on with COVID-19 and how the opposition can do their thing. Luckily for us, you are here every week and we can get you back again next week. So, Sam, thank you very much, and we will see you next week on the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. Thank you, mate.
Thank you.
And now, it's time for the Random Live Shot of the Day.
It's the Random Live Shot of the Day. Where are you going today? You'll never know where you'll end up with the Random Live Shot of the Day.
And today, we are taking you to Hawaii, where the forecast is partly cloudy with a low of 20 degrees and a high of a beautiful 27 degrees. This is a beach in Hawaii. This is a live shot which shows that they haven't closed their beach like they have in Bondi. And doesn't it look like a great place to go? Robbo, what do you think? Could you do some surfing there? Could you hang 10?
I was going to say I could hang 10, I could cowabunga, I could surf those waves. No, I couldn't do any of those things. I can barely ride a boogie board, to be frank with you, but it looks like a beautiful beach. and I wish I could go there. Rob, you just had a little trip in Hawaii, didn't you?
I did, yes. We went to Hawaii part of our trip was to Hawaii. We spent a month in the States. Luckily, I actually think we were so lucky to do that trip, which finished it was all of January, basically, and we just got back 100%. As things were starting to take off, and you know that you just wouldn't be doing that now. And certainly I wouldn't want to do that with the whole family next year, but we spent a week in Hawaii, yes, and it was fantastic, Robbo. I don't want to rub your face in it, but it was just beautiful and to die for. But, and I'm not sorry to anyone.
Yeah. No, and the great thing is, when you're telling me about this, I'm remembering that I'm in a garage. It's really hitting home for me. So I'm glad,
Robbo. We're all in the garage. This is streaming in the 90s. I actually said streaming in the 90s.
If only we were. I miss the 90s. I really do.
Welcome to the 90s.
All right, look, I think it's time for a hit of entertainment with our good friend Ben. Ben, give us your entertainment report.
Well, making news headlines at the moment is our man Ray Hadley from Radio. Looks like he has been taken to court by his fellow producer, Chris Bowen. I nearly went to say Chris Brown. Didn't get taken to court by Chris Brown. That would be a mistake. But look, the allegations are there that Ray had been bullying this man for quite some time. The original allegations did come out on Facebook, and it was alleged that he'd been bullied for like 16 years. Now, Hadley has come back with these allegations and is disputing them, saying sorry that what he has done had hurt him. It'll just be interesting now to see how this will all play out once the court case is done. Rob, what do you think? Do you think it's just show business and sometimes the talent can get a little bit rambunctious with producers?
Oh, look, there is always a bit of yelling and screaming, especially in a live situation. And look, some of the stories I've heard about what's going on at these reality shows is amazing. But I think it does cross a line when you are specifically calling names to people. I think there's a difference between saying, what the hell's going on? Get over there. Like when you're trying to get things happening very quickly. But when you start specifically targeting people, whether it's raised voices or not, and you're calling them some of the language we've heard, I think that is very different and crosses a line.
Yeah.
Also making
Robbo,
news
you've been on
moment.
the end of my serves. What have they been all right?
I really want to talk about this, actually. This is a really good opportunity to do that. Yes, live television, especially in live radio, is a very hungry and crazy beast. Yes, we've both been on the other end of each other's serves while we've been doing live TV. That's the thing. It all ends once the show finishes. I think that there are too many wilting flowers in media nowadays where you take so much offense. I agree with you though, Robbie, if you say something directly to that person, that's bad. But when you're saying, what the bloody hell are you doing? And you need to get there. People who get offended by that shouldn't be in media because that's part of the drama, part of the magic of doing live TV. But if Ray Hadley has been doing it directly to people and
this doesn't sound like the drama of live TV. It does, and we can't prejudice. I don't want to make any comment. He's before the courts, and I don't know the evidence to determine whether he's guilty or not. My point being is that it certainly sounds like this was personal attacks. Maybe he thought it was part of the banter, but obviously the person on the receiving end hasn't seen it this way. What else have you got for us, Ben?
Yeah.
Well, also making news is a big one for MasterChef fans. MasterChef is looking for some children to compete in their new series, which will be following this All-Stars, which is very popular at the moment. So I think it's a really smart move for them to get these kids back into the kitchen. I think the new judges will work alongside these kids really well. I always find it really fun to watch kids cook. As far as I'm concerned, when it comes to cooking as a kid, I could only make 2-minute noodles. Maybe if I was on a good day, some banana bread. But look, I think the first 2 seasons of MasterChef Kids was really popular, and I think it'll be exciting. I can't wait for it to come back. Rob, what do you reckon? You're going to send your kids off to the kitchen?
Well, I watched that first series of Junior MasterChef, and what they can do is far beyond my skills, although my skills are very limited. But I think it's amazing. I can make a mean Vegemite sandwich and a roast pork. It's one or the other, basically. But
I was actually told, though, that you make a really good butter chicken. But moving on.
Yeah, but I use a
quite nicely
Thermomix to do that. The Thermomix does all the work. I just put the ingredients in.
Okay, mate, settle down. You got a Thermomix. You don't need to shout it from the rooftops. Whatever.
You do. It changes your life, Robbo. It will change your life.
Aren't they like as much as a car? Anyway, moving along. Also making huge news at the moment is an exclusive that was broken on TV Black Box, which is Gogglebox, but with celebrities. Now, we're all talking about it. Who are these celebrities going to be? How's the show going to be? And I have just got two experts who everyone's familiar with and we all love. It's Tom and Wayne from Gogglebox, and they're going to give us an exclusive lowdown on what they think about Celebrity Gogglebox. Roll tape.
Hey, this is Wayne. I'm Wayne. Hi, we're Wayne and Tom from Gogglebox Australia.
We had a lot of fun for 8 seasons doing Gogglebox Australia.
And we're even more excited now that we heard a rumour that there's Celebrity Gogglebox Australia coming.
Yes, we are excited as long as they get real celebrities. We don't need celebrity impersonators like another mass contestant there taking over our TV. Who needs another brain-dead, six-pack wannabe personal trainer?
Or people looking for more Instagram followers or have more plastic than Lego block.
Correct. We want to see real celebrities.
What about Bert and Patty Newton? I miss Moonface on TV.
Look, if we're going to talk real Australian celebrities, let's get Kylie and Danny Minogue. Now, I'm telling you what, I would watch that.
No, take it to the next level. We're having the Hemsworths.
Oh, the hunky Chris and Liam Hemsworth. Now, that's a pair that I'd watch on TV.
And let's not forget about our queer community. What about Tim and Anthony?
Oh, Anthony and Tim Collier, that'd be nice. Or maybe even Coletta. Or Carlotta.
Carlotta.
Carlotta?
Carlotta.
Or is that come from cream, doesn't it? I'm not sure. Look, Gogglebox Australia worked because basically it was the average person watching TV that could be relatable to the average person at home.
Exactly. The problem with celebrities is going to be their personalities. And they're always switched on 24/7. And the last thing we need is just another wannabe appearance fee who comes in, leaves on their publicity promotion.
Well, look, Gogglebox Australia, if you are listening, Celebrity Gogglebox could work as long as it's got a Minogue.
Make it real.
Bye.
Well, Can I just say, as big fans of Tom and Wayne, it's really nice to see them on the TV talking about Gogglebox, and I have to wholeheartedly agree with what they're saying. I think the magic of Gogglebox is that people will be unscented, unfiltered, and be representing real Australians. I don't want to see any of these really flashy ads.
I love the fact that they are reading the TV blackbox.com.au website, where I happen to break that story. Foxtel have not denied this, but we are hearing they're at the moment trying to work out whether they if they get the big enough stars. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think there's such a lot of love for this show that celebrities will want to do it, Ben. They're not going to have a problem, are they?
No, I don't think so at all. I think that what's going to end up happening is that the budget for Gogglebox will mean that we get two really big recognisable names, and I think that the rest of the show will be padded out with a politician. Maybe Sam Dastiani would like a shot on Gogglebox. I think he'd be great. Love someone with opinions.
I would love you and Sam to be sitting watching TV together. That would be fireworks.
Not going to happen, Mr. McKnight.
Sorry, do you mean Sam Dastiari or Sam Dastiani? You just said Dastiani. I believe his name is Sam Dastiari.
Yes.
Did I say his name wrong? Oh, I may have developed a bit of a lisp, or maybe I've had a bit of a stroke, because I'm getting myself into a bit of a tizzy because I've got some exclusive news coming up, which I think a lot of people out there are going to be very interested in. As we're talking about the biggest show for Channel 7 this year, that's right, Big Brother, they have released a trailer, and inside the trailer is an exclusive, which is a glimpse at one of their housemates. Now, check out the trailer.
I have searched for a new breed of housemate.
And what do we have here?
Who is it?
Well, We have Ian from Western Australia. This is our very first Big Brother housemate. He is a big fan of archaeology. I'm not necessarily sure if archaeology is what he does for his profession, but very quickly into auditioning for the series of Big Brother, he became the producer's fan favourite, I'd say. Apparently, that signature hat that you can see him wearing on the show is a bit of a talking point, a way of him getting to know people. Apparently, he's a very good conversationalist. And from all that I've heard, apparently he does very well on this upcoming series of Big Brother. Looks like the revelation of Big Brother housemates are coming in thick and fast. And I have a complete list of all the people that are going to be on the show. And I look forward.
Yes! So, Ben, I want to confirm.
Forward.
This man is on Big Brother. So what did you say his name was? Sorry?
The man's name is Ian. From what we can see, it's only a very small glimpse of him. It looks like he might be, he might have red hair. But look, there's a long time to go before this show starts. I'm a massive fan of Big Brother. It's bamboozling me how they're going to keep these people's secret all the way up into the launch of the show.
Well, did you just say
I hope that these...
Did you just say that you have the complete list of contestants, Benjamin?
I think the drum roll for that is, yes, I do, Rob.
Oh, that's brilliant. Look, we are huge Big Brother fans here at the Ben, Rob and Robbo show, and to have that list is amazing. And look, we're giving away the first name just because there's so much excitement about this, and we'll work out what we do with the other ones. We'll have a real think about that and go from there. But it is exciting information to have, Ben, and just shows, I think it shows that you really do have the contacts in this industry, and people trust you with this information. So you have really been at the forefront of Big Brother news. I think you do amazing work, so I can't wait to find out who the others are. And I was just saying to Ben a little earlier before the show, we really do have to do a Ben, Rob and Robbo Big Brother podcast when it's out, so we'll do a podcast after every episode. What do we think?
I'm ready.
I'm in.
Yeah, excellent. All right, Ben, what else have you got for us, Ben?
Well, also making the news at the moment, and this is one of my favourites. Last night while I was going to bed, I stumbled across a video of Meryl Streep making a margarita. Now, I love Meryl Streep. I love her in every movie she's ever done, and now I love her in Margarita Land, and she's there alongside one of her co-stars from Mamma Mia, and also a very popular Broadway singer, and we've got a very funny clip of them. This is basically my TikTok of the day. So roll a clip with Meryl Streep.
That just looks like one of our conference calls.
I'm drinking some wine and I'm drinking a little bourbon. Look, there's a few shots of them having a few drinks. The one thing about Meryl, though, is I just love her authenticity. She just looks like someone you'd be friends with, and she looks like every single person I'm friends with. Every time I do a Zoom, they're always drinking. It's the new, house party. But look, the girls look like they're having a lot of fun. Apparently the video was made for a producer friend of theirs who was celebrating a birthday.
Fantastic stuff, Ben. That Big Brother news is just amazing. Look, before we go, I want to take a look at some of the websites. We're going to take a look at websites live as they're happening right now. And we begin with news.com.au, where we can see a Harvard professor says Australia has crushed it. They've also got damning photos of NRL stars emerge. Let's have a look at that one. I'm going to go into it. Pictures showing Nathan Cleary breaking social media guide regulations. I'm just going to enable my mouse here to have a look at that. There we go. Where are the pictures? Oh, he's got girls with him. That's what's going on.
I think you're getting an ad being played there for Foxtel.
It looks like he's been a very naughty boy. But let's go across to the Daily Mail now. And they're talking about the road out, shattering the curve. Just 7 new cases recorded across the nation in 24 hours. As states ease lockout, and Health Boss reveals what it will take for restaurants and pubs to open. Let's go across to ABC News now, where they're focusing on the coronavirus. And basically, that's what's tickling their fancies on the websites. And let's finish off with The Age now, where 2.5 million Australians download contact tracing app. Treasury warns of permanent job losses. So they've got basically a rolling coverage of what's happening. But it's interesting that 2.5 million people have downloaded that app, and Sam Dastyari will not be one of them. And I've got to be honest, at the moment, I have not downloaded the app. So I'm still in two minds. And I do have to say, despite your friction with Sam there, Ben, I always think he's been in the game. He knows what goes on. I now have severe reservations about downloading that app.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, but
he's a politician who knows how the information is collected. Remember, he was a federal senator. He's going to know what's going on. He knows when someone in those positions like Barnaby Joyce, who was Deputy Prime Minister, says he will not be downloading the app, I sit there and think there's a reason for that. There's a lot of stories they know that we don't know.
You give more information to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok
I understand that.
every day.
I understand that, and that's a choice. But I also know that they have a lot of protections in place, and I take Sam's point as well that during the census,
Facebook doesn't. No. Remember the Analytica
I understand that,
scandal
yes,
where
I understand
it was
that.
all
But I'm
built?
also very careful about what information I do give to Facebook. But during the census, the government websites were attacked, and that's just a fact.
look, I can understand where you're coming from in some aspects. And do you know what? When it comes to argument, I guess everyone is entitled to have their opinion. But for you, Robert McKnight, you know, I just don't understand the reason as to why publicly, you know, you're saying this, because I think it's really important for Australians to download this app. I think it's really important to not create a hysteria about it. This app has been tested by lots of different people. I'm sure that there's hackers out there or whatever, but I honestly believe when the government says that they're going to delete this information after a period of time, that's what they're going to do. And I just think it's just silly to not download it at this point. I haven't heard an argument. I haven't heard anything you say so far that makes me think it's appropriate to say on a broadcast that you're not doing it.
Well, but I mean, I'm on a show that gives opinions. This is my opinion, and I am open and honest, saying I am torn. When we talked about this on Monday, I was very much, I'm not downloading this app for privacy concerns. By Tuesday, I started to change. What day are we up to now? It's Tuesday. So last week when we talked about it, I'm so lost. Last week when we talked about it, I was like, absolutely not. By Monday, when the government had come out and spoken a lot, I was very much like, well, maybe I will. But I do listen to people like Sam, and I am entitled to have an opinion on this show. That's what we're all here for. People can listen to me. They can ignore me. The great thing about this app is that we have the choice, and I will focus more on social distancing than I will. I see the same 4 people every day, my wife and my family. So I know who I'm making contact with. But we do have to wrap it up. The good folk at Ticker Newsroom are waiting to bring us the latest news. Ben, we might have to continue this conversation another time.
Let's take it off air. Come on, girl.
But you know I love you no matter how much we argue. I love you both very much. And that brings us to the end of another edition of the Ben, Rob and Robbo Show. We'll see you tomorrow.
Rob and Robbo, Ben, Rob and Robbo, Ben, Rob and Robbo Show.